Fiesta. And we thank you all for coming. We're going to get the official part of the program going now, if you will. And before we get started with some of our speakers and our candidates for the Senate positions, I'd like to welcome and recognize certain local folks whom you may or may not know but ought to. My name is Ted Bowman. I'm the chairman of the Pickens County Republican Party Executive Committee. We have with us Rob Jones, who's the chairman of our Pickens County Commission. Rob, if you'll just a wave and come up here for a moment. Becky Denny, who's our post 2 commissioner. David Lindsay, probate judge. David. Alan Wigginton, who's our magistrate judge. Alan, here, come to us right here. Gail Brown, clerk of court. There she is right there. And Allison Silver, who's our district attorney. Allison. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. You said a few words on behalf of the county. Welcome to the Rob. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome each and every one of you to Pickens County. Actually, I'm taking the best that you're here today to enjoy our new facility. This facility here, we've been here about 18 months. Glad to have you all here. We don't normally get the building, but since I've been in office, we have got a new building here. We've got one going on Main Street. A few of them regarded as the courthouse. We should have it done in a few weeks. We'd like to open that up to the public, where everybody can walk through that one. But thank y'all for coming to Pickens County today. Hope y'all enjoy yourself. And if you have time when everything is over, just tour the back street. If y'all have any questions, please let us know. And love to have you come back. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Rob. Tentative but informal. So for those of you who are still working your way through the chow line or want to go back for a little supplement, please don't hesitate, because we have a number of speakers here who I'm going to ask you to make their remarks cogent but brief. The important part is we have several candidates who are here who are going to be vying for Senator Saxton Chambliss' job next year. I'm going to quickly run through the list of the folks we have with us. You know, some may even show up in between. But, we have Congressman Doug Collins here from the 9th District. We have hopefully Phil will be here. On his way. On his way, that's why he's here. Karen Handel is with us, and her son's right there. Congressman Jack Kingston from the 1st District down on the other side of the state. And we have our local representative, Rick Jaspers. You
got it blocked. I get clear.
Oh, good. All right. So we've got a couple on their way. We have some folks who are ready to chat with us for a few minutes. And I'm going to turn it over for the initial speaking. You're not running. No. Doug Collins.
I tell you what, can you hear my good Baptist voice? You need a mic. Need a mic. Well, it'll be louder on you then. Well, it's good to be here. I am thrilled to be here. I could not last year make the Mayor's Sandwich Fiesta, but I'm here today, and the family is here out celebrating what makes America great. As I look around, my former colleague Rick Jaspers, I know one of the reasons I've just picked up something. The reason you back home, you want to get a loud cheer. You have your wife cooking some of the best little tacos. Fiesta part back there that I've had in a long time. But it's good to be with him. Charlie, good to see you as well. My colleagues from the House and the U.S. House, my friends who are running for Senate, it's good to see you. I think we're going to probably see a lot of each other over the next little bit up here in this world. Also, as I know today, I have the great pleasure of representing Georgia's 9th District. Pickens County happens to have the great opportunity to have Tom Graves and myself represent you in Washington, D.C. It's always a good time to be over here with Tom, knowing Tom and what Tom does for our delegation, and being a part and sharing this area with him is special to me, and I appreciate that opportunity to be a part here. I want to just talk about a couple of things, and another candidate is going to talk about the issues they have, but I was going to talk maybe the first 6 months in Washington and just say, here's what I'm finding out. One, yep, it's as bad as it looks. All right? Number two, you don't have to go to Orlando to find Fantasyland. All you have to do is go north on 95, go inside the Beltway, and you find it. Because tell me where you can go in and see condominiums being built, not by the 1 or 2 buildings, but by the multiple buildings. where you can see other things are growing, where it looks like the economy is booming. But what you find is it's only right around the beltway. It's only right inside. So what does that tell me? It tells me that the only thing in this world that's growing is government, and that's got to stop. Woo. Yeah. But I want to say something. And as we go forward and look at what's happening, and some of us we've talked about, and I'm in the Judiciary Committee, I'm on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and also on the Foreign Affairs Committee. We've hit those committees have hit the big events here recently. Benghazi, IRS, the issues that are coming up with AP and the AP scandal. I'm going to tell you right now, as you look at government right now is too big, too expansive, it needs to get back to its roots of being limited and fiscally responsible. When we're able to do that, then you don't have to worry about an IRS that has so much time on the hands. It wants to target political groups, where it wants to target religious groups. Then it can be eliminated as I want to, and we implement the fair tax and get rid of it altogether. But also, then we got just a fundamental problem. When we have a worldview of a president who decides that he wants to lead from behind, in places like Syria, where 2 years ago we could have made a difference. Now 2 years into it, we are having trouble with the players because Iran decided to play, Hezbollah decided to play, and you've got people pouring out of Syria into Jordan and other places. I serve as the Vice Chairman of the Middle Eastern Subcommittee on Foreign Affairs, and right now it is a scary situation what's going on in the Middle East, and especially with our friend Israel. And when we look at that, that's going to be a problem as we got to go forward. So I just wanted you to know that this is something that can't be fixed real easy. But it's in very vital interest of America, because if Israel is in trouble, we're in trouble. We're two of a kind, and we've got to stay together in this. So as you look forward to knowing what is going on in D.C., don't be fooled. Don't get caught up in all the scandals, because there's plenty up there. It just goes to a certain point and says that we got to fix some things and we got to work forward on it. I saw something on the table, though, that I've been walking around every time I talk, and I just happened to see it on the GOP water bottle. I encourage everybody to look at your GOP water bottle. Look what it says. It says educate, inform, and motivate. Aside from folks like you who come out on a Saturday to listen to folks who are running for office or in office, right now we've got a public out there that's getting really to the point where they don't trust anything. They don't trust people, they don't trust their neighbor, they don't trust government, they definitely don't trust what's going on in this world right now. So the question for us is, as conservatives, and I'm a conservative, I believe in a social conservative worldview and a physical worldview. I believe it's the best thing. But you know something, until we get out and we do what we got on this water bottle, until we start educating people around tables just like this, at the local diner, at the grocery store, at the football games, basketball games, until we tell them why that matters, then people are going to keep turning off. Until we get there and tell them why a balanced budget matters, until we tell them why limited government matters, when we do that, then we can begin to win back the hearts and the minds of this country who have been fooled by a president who is telling them everything that they want, and they're believing. I believe this. How many of you heard this poll question lately? You know, when they talk about that, they want to see government. I see these polls come out from the Democrats all the time and say, how many of you believe that the government is doing the right thing? And you see these higher numbers. Well, I'm from the 9th District of Georgia. I will guarantee you that's not what I hear when I go out and talk to people. So here's my question. I wish they would do the poll this way. How many of you want to have more government in your life, over controlling and letting it be a part of your life? Or how many of you would like to be able to live free, to start your businesses, to live your life, and to succeed economically, which the Constitution says? I guarantee you it's going to choose freedom over oppression every time. But we have got to make that argument. If we don't make that argument, then we can sit back and not blame anybody but ourselves. So with the Pickens County GOP, we start today. Tell somebody. Think about somebody over the next little bit. We're not in an election year. Now's the best time to do it. I heard what y'all are going to do with the dog event. All right, I think that's a great event. Get out and mingle with the community so that you can then influence when it comes time for election, when the election rolls around in a little, now think about this now, a little over a year. We've got to be ready. So again, I want to thank you for letting me come today. We've got some other events that we're going to be getting. So if we sneak out here in just a minute, no offense to my Senate candidates. I love them all and serve with them. But we're going to be having to get out. But we wanted to come over here and just say thank you, Pickens County, for what you're doing. Get into this community. Let's keep the 9th district. Let's keep Georgia the way it is right now, conservative and focused ahead on the future. Thank y'all so much.
And Karen Handel, come up now, would you please? I'm sure most of you know that recently she's been the Secretary of State and has been active in politics for some time. Is now running for Senate, so I'll let her take over.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. How's everybody doing? I'm so thrilled to be here. I am running for United States Senate, and I'm going to tell you why. Ladies and gentlemen, we know it. Washington is broken. It is broken. Only in Washington could we put forth an immigration bill that was put forth 20 years ago and didn't do anything to fix it, label it reform, and we all know that it's deja vu all over again. Only in Washington could a bill that is 80% food stamps be called a farm bill. Washington is broken, and they have lost our trust and our faith in their ability to actually govern. It is time for new leadership in the United States Senate, a leader who is going to be a fighter, a real fighter, and that is my track record. I have a track record of not only fighting the status quo, but standing up to it and winning. As the CEO of the North Fulton Chamber of Commerce, I took over a bankrupt organization and moved it from bankruptcy to solvency. I was able to come in as Fulton County Commission Chairman in an extremely tough environment, a balance, a $100 million deficit in that budget each and every year without a tax increase. I was able to deliver a balanced budget for the first time in a very long time, as long as anyone could ever remember, in Fulton County. As your Secretary of State, I was able to get photo ID implemented, and I was able to get a process put in place fighting against the Department of Justice to make sure that only U.S. citizens were going to vote in our election. Washington is broken, and we have got to have new leadership, because we've got to get America back on track. We've got to deal with this budget deficit, and the only way to do that is to have a solid plan with real milestones in it so that you can trust that we're actually doing our job in D.C. We have got to roll back the size and scope of the federal government and get back to limited government and fiscally responsible government, and that means moving forward with a balanced budget amendment, bringing it to the states for ratification, and making that happen. We need to scrap the IRS, move to a fair tax, because the fewer IRS agents, the better. We've got to move forward with real immigration reform that secures those borders first. No amnesty in any immigration reform bill as we move forward. We must get the feds out of the way when it comes to educating our children, and we need entitlement reform as well. And some people might think that that's not a very politically correct thing to say, but when we have almost 50% of Americans on some sort of government assistance, that is not the American dream. These programs were put in place out of great compassion, but they're having the opposite effect. They're sapping the very will of young people to even pursue the American dream. And we need a greater emphasis on the importance of working and personal accountability. Now, if you agree with me that Washington is broken, then what sense would it make to take an individual from one side of the Capitol, walk them to the other side of the U.S. Capitol with a new office and a new view? If you believe that we need to do things differently in D.C., we need an individual who has not been Washingtonized, nor one who has been marginalized. We need a leader who's going to be a real fighter, who's going to stand up for you and be accountable to you and not accountable to the next election. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some real challenges ahead of us. And I would be less than genuine with you if I said that it would be easy. It's going to be very hard, and it's going to require sacrifice on the part of each and every one of us. But across the history of this great country, certain generations have been called to sacrifice. World War I, World War II, the Great Depression. And what has made America great has always been our ability to rise to whatever challenge we face. And we will do that in this case. We will do that in this case, because I will not be resigned. You cannot be resigned to an America that is one of dependency, one of massive debt, one of mediocrity. What will be our legacy to the future generations, to your children and grandchildren, to my nieces? Will it be a massive debt? Is it going to be eroding? Is it going to be a lower quality of life? We cannot let that happen. The time to act is now, and we need a leader like myself who understands that it's time to act with courage and do the right thing, even though it's a hard thing, simply because it is the right thing. I ask for your vote to be your next United States Senator. And together, we will ensure that the great United States of America continues to be the land of opportunity and the land of the free. Thank y'all. God bless you.
This time I'd like to ask Congressman Pickens, the first district, step up here and have a few words with us. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's great to be with y'all and have my wife, Libby, who just took a mouthful of the delicious tomato sandwich. She's probably going to get back. We're introducing her this month. We have 4 kids together, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself. And first of all, I would say to Doug Collins, it's great to be in your area. I don't know if you may have sneaked out, but I am represented in a lot of split counties, and there's some advantages and disadvantages, but having 2 congressmen sometimes can really help you because you get 2 different bites of the apple, and I've been in those situations many times, so pluses and minuses. But I want to tell you a little bit about myself because I know I'm new in this part of the state, although I'm an Athens boy and went to a camp a couple of mountains away, or hills away in Tallulah Falls, and really love this part of the state. But my dad was raised in the Depression. He taught us as kids to be frugal, and he taught us to be hardworking. My dad was extremely frugal. He put us on allowances when we were kids. My first allowance I made 5 cents a week. He taught us to start saving our money. Didn't mean we were poor. I got a bicycle, but I was taught to take care of it. I got a baseball glove. I was taught to lose it, not to lose it. Excuse me. We had our advantages, but you didn't leave the room with the lights on. You didn't leave the water running when you brushed your teeth. You were taught, waste not, want not. Remember, Congress, I have that lesson with me. When I leave my office in Washington, D.C., nobody's watching, but I turn the lights off. Nobody counts it, but I turn the lights off. I have returned over $1 million to the taxpayers in unused office supplies and salaries because I've been a steward of the money. I come from a deep part of agriculture company in the country in Georgia. 6 out of 10 jobs in the state are related to food or food production. And yet, as chairman of the Ag and Appropriations Committee, I cut spending $3.6 billion, and that's not a decrease in the increase, that's $3.6 billion less than the year before. Now, my dad taught me to be hardworking. I had jobs around the household, just like I'm sure many of you did. I cut the grass, I cleaned the gutters, I emptied the garbage. I'm waiting to get a promotion on that last one, by the way. My wife thinks I'm very well capable of continuing in that fellowship. But let me ask you this question. How many of y'all had jobs when you were a kid in your household that you remember you had to do it? It was your territory. Now, when I got to be 12 years old, Dad put us on a clothing allowance, $3.25 a week. Wasn't any money back then. I got my clothes from J.C. Penney and Champion Mills in Commerce, Georgia. Anyway, can I get a witness on Champion Mills? Y'all remember that? And also the Loganville men's quality, $25 you could get a suit. But, you know, we had to learn to work hard. I sold football programs. I delivered sandwiches. I sold basketball programs. And then I'll ask you, how many of y'all remember when you were 15, 16 years old getting your first paycheck? And how many of you learned lessons from that job that you still apply today in your current job? Raise your hand. So the question is, why are we denying a generation of Americans work? Work should be a noble thing. Work should be something that we value as a culture. Work should be something we pass on to the next generation. That's why last week I offered an amendment that said if you're able-bodied and you're on food stamps, then the states could have the option of requiring you to work. It's not a radical concept. It's something we have to survive as America. Now I learned about hard work and frugality from my dad. My mom taught me idealism. Growing up in Athens, Georgia, I can tell you one thing. We didn't have much of a Republican Party back then. My mom actually was the first president of the Women's Republican Party. We were laughed at, we were humiliated, and Charlie, I think you've heard my story before, but when I was a member of the state legislature, there were only 26 Republicans. 26! We were stared at all the time. But working with people like Paul Coverdale, I learned that ideas are more important than party label. And I believe that to this day. And that's why when President Bush offered a stimulus plan in May of 2008, I voted no. When President Bush's administration had a bailout of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, I voted no. And when President Bush had the TARP, the Wall Street bailout, I voted no. Because I believe that being a conservative is more important than being a Republican. And that's what we have to remember as a Republican Party, is we have to put the idealism before the jersey color, if you will. Vote against Obamacare, vote against the Obama stimulus program and the other boondoggle plans that they have, it's easy. But it's sometimes required that you and I vote against our party to put our idealism first. And those are some of the things that I've done. I come to you with the highest rating of any candidate in this race from the NRA. I come to you with 100% National Federation of Independent Business rating. Because as a former businessman, I was an insurance broker. I remember what it's like for small businesses struggling through to create jobs and make a living in the sight of excessive government regulation. I have 100% rating with the National Right to Life, and 100% with Ralph Reed's Faith in Politics. These are things that I believe in, and these are things that I have done consistently as a member of Congress. You know, Georgia's changing. We are in a state right now that is changing tremendously, and we have to get out there, as you pointed out, and educate. I'm the only one running for this office who's ever taken on Chris Matthews and all the liberals on MSNBC. Now, I'm happy when Sean Hannity calls me. I was very happy when Sean Hannity said, I'm his candidate in this race. But I can tell you, the battleground has to be on the other stations. I'll go out there in Hollywood and I'll debate Bill Maher. And I was on it one time when they were picking on me right and left, outnumbered and outmanned. But when I came home, I held my head high. Because that's what you and I have to do. We have to get out of our comfort zone and go preach the gospel, if you will, to the unconverted. And that's what I'm doing, and that's what I will continue to do. It is a great honor to be even considered as a candidate for the U.S. Senate. And it's a great honor to be here today in Pickens County. And it's a great honor to eat your tacos and your delicious tomato sandwiches. Thank you, and God bless you.
So you're about to enter the room. Yes, there he is. Just in time. How's that for an entrance, ladies and gentlemen? Congressman Watkins. And we'll wait for you. Let's get a chance to talk first.
Well, Ted, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here for the annual Pickens County tomato sandwich picnic. And I love tomatoes. My wife said the one thing I couldn't do is I couldn't pick it up and eat sliced tomato with my hands, which I've always done. So I've got my instructions. Thank you for giving the opportunity to tell you a little bit about who I am and what I believe in and why I want to serve as your next United States Senator. Speaking of Billy, we've been married yesterday 43 years, so we're celebrating our anniversary this weekend. But I was born and raised in Augusta, Georgia. I went to high school there and then on to Georgia Tech on the co-op program, so I worked my way through college. And then I returned to Augusta to the medical college and I got my medical degree. And then went back to Atlanta, and I had the great fortune when I was interning at Brady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta to meet a very smart, very pretty Delta flight attendant named Billy, who became my wife, and to this day she is the center of my life, and she stands right back there holding that out. Billy, raise your hand. When I finished up my training at OBGYN, we settled in the heart of Cobb County in Marietta, and that was almost 38 years ago. So we've been there ever since. We raised our kids, our 4 children. We now have 13 grandchildren. All of the kids went to Marietta City School System. And I established my OBGYN practice. And over, I guess, a 26, 27-year period, I delivered about 5,000 babies. Some people say they were the margin of my first victory when I ran for Congress. And that is about the number one time. But, you know, all during that time, I thought, you know, I wanted to do something else. I wanted to serve in another way in public service. And I did run and was elected to the Marietta City School Board. I served a term there. I was chairman most of that time. I then was elected to the Georgia Senate, where I served two-year terms, so a total of 4 years in the Senate. And then in 2002, I had the opportunity to get elected to the United States Congress from the 11th Congressional District, Northwest Georgia, and my constituents have seen fit to re-elect me 5 consecutive terms. And I think that the reason that they keep re-electing me is because I believe what they believe. I represent them, and that's what this is all about. It's not necessarily my opinion, but it's the opinion of 700,000 people that I represent. And let me tell you a little bit about what I believe. Certainly, when you think about the Tea Party, what does it stand for? Taxed enough already. I sincerely believe that we are taxed enough already. And they're dead right in regard to that issue. I believe free markets and fair markets, and I think the opportunity for us to compete globally is dependent on fundamental tax reform and to bring down the corporate tax rate. We have a corporate tax rate, as all of you know, at 35%. It's one of the highest in the industrialized world. And we can't compete globally unless we bring down that tax rate. And I sincerely believe that we need to do that. Look, I believe in our Constitution. I believe in the wisdom of our forefathers, and I know each and every one of you in this room feel the same way about that. I believe in and this is most important, I believe in a balanced budget. And there are so many people that say, well, Congress can balance its budget. Well, have we in the last how many years balanced the budget? Under this Obama administration, we're looking at $1 trillion deficits for about 6 years in a row, an unemployment rate above 8% for 40 straight months. I believe firmly in balanced budgets. And I believe in faith and family. And I can't stress that enough. This country is going in the wrong direction, and we have to get back to faith and family. And I'm talking about fundamental values that we believe in Georgia when I refer to family. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. And last but not least, certainly I believe in the sanctity of life from the moment of conception. These are not the times for a United States Senator to be sort of conservative, mostly conservative. No. There are times for a United States Senator to be a rock-solid conservative, standing on principles, not being willing to go over to the Senate side and get co-opted by Harry Reid or the Democrats. I am not going to do that. I promise you. I don't mind being a gang of 1, but I have no interest in being a gang of 6 or 8 and buddy up to the Democrats. So I can assure you that that's the stance that I will take as your next United States Senator. You know, all across this state, and we will be going all across this state as this long campaign has begun. But you ask people what are the 3 most important issues, and consistently it's jobs, and you guessed it, jobs. And what did President Obama do in January of 2009 when he had the opportunity to come in and turn this country around? His big complaint was, well, I inherited this terrible economy from George W. Bush, and we're losing 700,000 jobs a year, and, you know, we've got or a month, and we've got to do something about it. So what did he do? He spent 2 years 2 years cramming down our throats Obamacare, wanting the federal government, as the Democrats have wanted for a long, long time, think back Hillary Care, to cram that down our throats, even though the American people didn't want it. And they spent almost 2 years doing it and let the economy go to heck in a handbasket. If you call a stimulus bill stimulate the economy, it's like Zell Miller said, it's pouring money down a rat hole, these so-called shovel-ready jobs. What did we do with the shovels? We dug a deeper hole, didn't we? That's what we did with the shovels. We dug a deeper hole. This is the situation that we find ourselves in today. But I promise you, as your next United States Senator, that I firmly believe that we can turn this country around. We just need the right kind of leadership to do that, and I want you to join with me. I ask you to join with me. Give me the opportunity to represent you in the United States Senate, and I promise you that the countries that we turn back to our children and our grandchildren will remain the greatest nation on the face of this earth. God bless Georgia, and thank you all for allowing me to be with you today.
So I have Woodville County, Murray County, parts of Gordon, and parts of Pickens. Pickens, I think the easiest way to describe it is if you look at Pickens County, and you draw a line right down the middle, north and south. The 54th is the western side, and I don't have any of the city of Jasper. And Steve Gooch, who is on his way, I believe, second. Oh, there you go. There he is. I'm not sure about the news. He is on the eastern side in the city of Jasper. I didn't come here to campaign today. I came to listen to these other folks, to listen to you. Just real quick, by way of introduction, I'm really just the first year of representing the 14th County that I represent, and only in the beginning of my second term in the state senate. I was raised in Dalton, Georgia. That's where I live. I saw a number of y'all last week. And I was in West Side County with my 3 children. My wife had called in at the last minute for work, and so I got to bring 3 children. And Mark and everybody was really good to help me take care of those 3, so that Lindsay felt I did a really good job. When I got home, everybody was alive, nobody was bleeding, they was bed. It was a great dad day for me. I am the Human Resources Director at J&J Industries, which is a commercial car manufacturer. I tell people, tongue in cheek, I'm a recovering attorney, so my background is in law, and so I've got that history. And I say that because I really treasure that education, that experience. It was a great opportunity for me, but I love being back in the productive sector of the economy, and I'm very much committed to seeing rebirth in Georgia, but nationally in our manufacturing strength. We continue to manufacture things in this country, not at the rate we once did. If we want to continue to be competitive in the future, we have to be focused on manufacturing. One of the comments that Jack made, who was in Georgia, so much of our economy is tied to food production, and it is. But what we all have to keep in mind when we talk about economic development, we talk about growing our economy in this country on a conservative basis. If you don't dig it out of the ground, if you don't grow it in a field, or if you don't make it in the manufacturing process, you are serving someone else's wealth chain. Nothing wrong with all those other aspects of our economy. They're essential. We have to have them. But the beginning of the creation of wealth comes from mining and those sorts of activities, which we do in this country, not as much as we should. Agriculture, which we do actually very well in this country, and manufacturing, where we fall behind. That is how we start the process of creating wealth. So I'm committed to continuing our efforts in Georgia to lead the country. We already lead in so many areas of agriculture. We want to stay strong there, but to continue to lead us in the rebirth of manufacturing, because it's the key to us holding our own future, our own destiny as an economy. But with that, like I said, I didn't have a stump speech today, but I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I welcome the opportunity to be responsive to you and represent you in the States.
Thank you, Charlie. Representation. It just makes my job that much easier as the chairman of the party here.
Steve, if you'd like to say a word, please. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon. It's good to be back in Jasper. You know, I've been following Karen and Phil and Jack. I don't know how many other people are in this race. You will, that's all. That's all. I've been following these guys around my district now. I represent about 8 counties: Forsyth, Dawson, Lumpkin, White, Union, Fannin, and Pickens. Everywhere I go, I hear these guys talking. I'm excited. I know we're going to have a good conservative election next year to the U.S. Senate. And we need to get up there and help fight for freedom and all the good things that need to be done up there. But I was in Florida last week, and I was on the beach of Amelia Island. It's a beautiful place. I know some of you have probably been there a few times. I've never been there. But I walked up on a crime scene, and it was a yellow caution tape about the size of one of these tables in a triangular shape. And then I kept looking at it, I couldn't tell what it was, but there was a sign posted on it. So I walked up and got real close to it. I even took a picture of it, put it on Facebook. Some of my not so conservative friends aren't too happy with me about it, but it basically said that this was a sea turtle nest. And that if you disturb this nest or the sea turtle or its eggs, you could be punished with the imprisonment up to 1 year in prison. I thought, that's odd. You go to prison for disturbing the turtle nest. So I walked on down the beach and I saw a small sea turtle. So I took a picture of that as well. Beautiful little reptile. And then I went back to my room, and on my way back to the room, I picked up a copy of USA Today, where there's an article in there talking about our great conservative congressman that passed an abortion bill this past week on late term abortions. After 20 weeks, they're going to ban abortions. And then the article really was talking about President Obama promising to veto that bill if it were to pass the U.S. Senate, which I guess if the Democrats are in control of the U.S. Senate, that's probably not going to pass. But if it were to have passed, our president would have vetoed a bill that would have banned abortions. And I thought, you know, we really have problems in our country when we're putting people in prison for disturbing a turtle nest, but we allow unborn babies to be aborted. So you men and women have a lot of work. So I posted that on Facebook, knowing I was going to get some emotional response, and I did. Just keep on posting on Facebook. So if you're on my Facebook page, go and look at some of the comments. You'll be amused and probably disgusted at some of the comments that are on there. But anyway, I don't want to run for U.S. Senate, but 2 weeks ago we were in Dawson County, and Karen and Congressman Kingston announced that they were running for U.S. Senate, so I stood up and I introduced myself. And I'm also running for Senate. One of the newspaper ladies come running over, she said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm running for state Senate, not U.S. You never know these days with everybody running for office, but I do admire all of you for running. We do have a very important job in Washington. Our job in Atlanta is just as important, as Charlie talked a little bit earlier, and of course, your state representative, Rick Jasper, he's our hero in the Capitol. He's a good guy. He works hard too, but we do have some huge responsibilities. Balancing our budget is our #1 chore in there. It's become a difficult task over the last few years. Charlie and I have only been here for 3 years, so has Rick, but it's been a difficult task. It continues to be a difficult task. Revenues aren't coming in as strong as one would like. Jobs are still struggling in our economy. But there are things that are good. There's a lot of positive signs in our economy here in Georgia. And I'll mention one thing in particular, then I'll move on. I know you want to hear other people today. And that's the importance of our ports in Savannah. In fact, when I leave here today, I'm driving to Savannah to the Georgia Municipal Association conference. I'm speaking in the morning about the ports and some other transportation issues. I am the chairman of transportation now. But the ports of Savannah is probably one of our brightest stars right now in Georgia. And Congressman Kingston, I believe you live there, and so he knows more than we do about the importance of that port to their economy, but that economy expands way beyond Savannah. That port expansion is going to be huge for the Southeast and for all of the East Coast of the United States. So, you know, we're talking about a port Today, that's the fourth busiest in the country, second busiest on the eastern United States. Once the money is appropriated from Washington, which hasn't happened yet, we're promised about $400, $500 million from the federal government. We haven't seen any of that money yet. It was $1.28 million was in the proposed budget of President Obama this year. We haven't seen any of that money. The state of Georgia has pledged and already committed $232 million toward that project. It's going to be about a $650 million project. We have to deepen the port in order to allow the mega ships to come in once the Panama Canal project is open. That's scheduled to be completed sometime in 2015. So we're only two years away from the big ships being able to come through the Panama Canal, and they're going to be looking for the closest port they can find to drop their goods, and no better place than Georgia. And so Savannah's in line to get that. We are way ahead of some of the other states that are competing for that money, but I can tell you it's a very competitive process, and we thank our Congressmen Doug Collins and Phil Gingrey and Jack Kingston, who have already been up there fighting for those funds, but we need to continue to fight for that. We're going to need help in the Senate, whether it's Democrat control or Republican control, it doesn't matter. We've got to get our president to commit the funds for that project. I really can't tell you how important that is. That's one of our major expansions this year and next year in our transportation industry. So help us get that. You ladies and gentlemen that are running for office, thank you for your support. I know you'll all support that. Whoever gets elected, we're going to be asking for your help on that. I'm going to stop now, but I'll be around. I love being over in Jasper. If I can help you in any way, please do.
This is a Tea Party rally we had at Walking Rock 3 years ago. So I'm sitting there, the first time ever in front of anybody besides Marshall, well, the first time I was in front of Ted, and I sweated to go in. But here's this great crowd at Talking Rock, and sitting beside me, still have this picture. I've got David Ralston, who's there, and some other people, it's a great election year. And on the side of me is Governor Deal. I got Governor Deal, but at the time, and I was wringing my hands, and I was nervous because you had to do a little Ricky stand, and I had never done anything like that. So I was just talking to Governor Deal, and I was kind of nervous. He goes, son, don't worry. He said, David Ralston's on the board. You're going to get up there and bumble through, and I'm going to speak, and they'll forget you when you spoke. And I tell that he goes, and he did because I got over it. I just jumped up there and did it, but mine's a little bit different in a talk when I talk to you because I was fortunate to be with Pickens County and enjoy the support of y'all and the questions that y'all give me. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to speak in front of 1,000 kids, high school kids. And when I was driving back with my daughter yesterday, we were talking about the speech I've got to give. It's about citizenship. And I'm kind of struggling. I know what I'm going to talk about now, but I was sitting there thinking that this is citizenship that we're looking at today. And, you know, when you're here in the board of our local Republican Party months ago, even years ago, planned this event and got some great people who we need to evaluate, who we need to look at to see who can be our best leader in Washington and being involved. And you know, that's kind of the message I'm going to give those 1,000 kids tomorrow. I'm going to talk to them about why aren't you the next greatest generation? Well, why aren't you? You look at all those 1,000 kids and all the things they do, but that's my little speech to them. But I think in our county, our local GOP leadership has done a great job. I know he's thanking them, but I hope let's give them a hand before we get beyond this. I appreciate y'all's support. Especially the decorations. You know, I appreciate their comments, Tom Brady's. And, you know, from our perspective, you know, I didn't watch a whole lot of TV years ago and all the things that were going on, but I think if you are, and I think we're involved people, when we look at what's going on in Washington, we look at our two congressmen who represent this county, you know, we're split. They're on the news, they're fighting, and I appreciate it. I think Doug left, I didn't get to tell him that. But they've done a great job, and I appreciate it. And the ones who are sitting with us, Bill and Jack, have done a similar thing also, representing us well. But I appreciate it. Thanks for coming from out of town, those y'all that came. I appreciate you. People that, and I just want to encourage you folks, my friends, to stop Bill Gingrich, Karen Handel, and Jack Kingston before you leave today and talk to them. Ask them that question that you've been worked up about for the last 6 months. Don't be afraid to do that. Because as I found out, working with great people like Charlie and Steve, y'all know me for 30 years, it's like you. But we need to hear your conversation. We need to hear what's burning, what's bothering you. And I know these 3 people that are still here, they want to hear that same thing. And we'll look in the eye, give you a straight answer, and be part of it. But they want you, and they want you to vote for them. Of course, it's your chance. And that just says, I was writing a little note on Facebook yesterday morning. That's what I said. This is your chance to come see somebody. You really didn't get here very often. But we've done, our local GOP's got them. This is your chance to talk to them and ask them, hey, what's your cell phone number? In case I may, 3 weeks from now, I want to talk to you about something. They'll give it to you and let you get in contact with them. So I think that's important. You know, we've had a great 3 years in the Capitol. You know, just 2 things I worked on a lot this past year. You probably heard about one of those. But we also worked on immigration, especially for the local cities and counties, making the building and the sign up for business license. I got started on that and they took that bill away from me. But then I got involved in the gun bill, which was a huge undertaking. I learned more in 40 days about politics and how rough it can get in 40 days. And we didn't. I was not successful. But we will be. We're working on it even as yesterday driving down the road, we're working on it to really expand your Second Amendment rights in Georgia. And Charlie, Steve, support us on this, work with me, help me until 11:30 on day 40. So we're trying to wiggle away to get that thing passed, but we just have what we can. We're going to come back and we'll work on it again. That's something I've taken as a passion. It's one thing that I know that you want and have really pushed hard for it. And you'll see other things come along, but I appreciate it. Lastly, as I close up, call me. Well, I'll skip you that. I mean, because you do. I mean, you can tell I've got a great secretary at 89 Apple Valley Farm. And that's Marcia, because I'm never there, it seems like that. And we love to hear from you, love to hear what your concerns are. It does help you solve problems that you may have with state government, and our senators do too. This is what makes it fun and interesting and involvement with people. But I have to thank Marcia. She's my #1 secretary and best helper. You know, just like Bill said, you can't do it without it, and I appreciate it. I appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.